Hello, I'm Chip Pickering, CEO of Encompass, and we're very pleased to have another great panel webinar led by David Wuensch. Fix your data, fix your deals, eliminating chaos and wholesale telecom operations is the subject and the focus of our panel today. As I introduced David, he has been a great member of Encompass, always engaged in our shows, very creative in bringing us good panels, good subjects, practical, pragmatic, problem solving. He has over 33 years of experience in sales and also a very proud grad of West Point. And so, David, I'm not going to go all the way into your career. I'll let you talk about whatever you want to talk about in the panel. I'm just pleased to have another great panel that you put together in a very timely, relevant topic for a lot of our members. And so I'm going to turn things over to you, and I look forward to seeing you soon in Tampa at the first week of November.
All right. Thank you, Chip. I guess, first of all, many thanks to Julia and to Gail for all the work they did in helping put this together to get started with. But welcome, everyone, to Fix Your Data, Fix Your Deals, Eliminating Chaos in the Wholesale Telecom Operations. As Chip said, I'm David Wuensch from Axcent Networks, and I'm going to be moderating today's panel. We've brought together leaders from across the wholesale ecosystem who have faced data chaos head on and found ways to turn it into clarity and growth. So let me introduce the panel we have today. Ben Edmond, CEO and founder of Connectbase, a pioneer in connectivity data intelligence. Ben has led Connectbase to become a key player in enabling providers to buy and sell network services through precise location-based data. David Leffler, VP of Wholesale and Wireless Sales with Unity Wholesale. He brings extensive experience driving wholesale growth and wireless expansion with a focus on optimizing partnerships, streamlining operations, and enhancing network reach through data-driven strategies. Kelly McClellan, Area VP of Vendor Relations at Bluebird Fiber, brings deep expertise in managing vendor ecosystems and optimizing contract relationships to support scalable network expansion and operational efficiency. And Sean Baillie, SVP, Carrier, Channel, Data Center, and Hyperscalers at Consolidated Communication. He brings broad leadership experience across carrier, channel, and hyperscaler markets, offering insights into how large-scale providers manage data integrity to strengthen wholesale operations and customer partnerships. All right, panel, you guys ready? We're going to start off. Ben, can you walk us through a time when bad data directly impacted revenue or partner relationships? What was the consequence, and how was it fixed?
Sure. Thanks for having me, David. I appreciate it. And a topic near and dear to my heart. I probably could go through 1,000 stories, with a lot of folks listening in right now, but a number of them stand out in particular because, frankly, this is why I quit my job and started this company. One that I know, my friend Justin over at Inditel has shared, out publicly to a number of people. But I can remember the first time we received, Inditel's billing list. For all those who don't know Inditel, they serve rural America with, collection of state networks. And that very first list was a spreadsheet that was, not perfect. The spreadsheet had, missing components of addresses, missing zip codes, wrong cities, notes from the field techs in certain addresses, unconformed, and it was about, 60,000 locations overall. And, at the end of the day, this is what was being shared back and forth in the industry, which led to missed opportunities because, systems are systems. They need to be found, if you would. And it's really hard to find each other with challenging location data. And that was what they had. we spent a lot of time and energy together, just, opening the kimono, helping figure out back in 2017 when, we were very young, going through that and working through rural America together as partners. And now they're in the millions and have common structure and, automating cross APIs and, big transformational shift. But I will never forget that original spreadsheet.
All right. Kelly, what would you like to add, or what would you like to share from your experience?
Well, when I think of this, the first thing that comes to mind is a large RFP response for a customer that maybe doesn't capture 100% of the story for how we're delivering the service to the customer. So it's either, not capturing all of the type 2 expense associated with the services. And sadly, the result of it was that we contracted with customers for services that we were not making money on or not making the margins that were expected to be made. So, the way we tried to fix that was obviously try to get a more holistic approach to make sure that when sales is addressing customer opportunities, that they're looking at the whole picture, that they've got the data that shows exactly how the services are being delivered and what those expenses are.
So, Kelly, are you saying there's more to it than just trying to get the data to win the job? You want to win the job profitably too? Is that what you want to eat the cake and eat it too, or what?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Sean or David, did you have anything you wanted to add to what Ben and Kelly offered there?
I think they hit the bullseye.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, so David, often it takes a real turning point before a company decides to get serious about fixing data integrity. Right. What was a turning point when your current or past organization decided to get serious about fixing data integrity, and what triggered it?
Yeah, thanks, David, and thanks everybody for joining. A lot of what's driven in most companies comes from multiple customer requests. And in this case, customers were requesting more detail, reliable data, and so forth. And I remember this vividly in 2016, late 2016, our CTO of our company at that time was Southern Light, which now has been part of Unity. He walked into my office and said, "Hey, our largest customer just called, and they want us to provide a list of all of our on-net buildings and near-net buildings within 1,000 feet in the 5 states that we had network." So months went by, and we finally put this list together. We thought it was accurate. We obviously found out later that it wasn't. But it required multiple departments. They had to get away from their day job to really, work on this project and make it effective. And then eventually, in February of 2017, Ben's company started, and we realized that there were other avenues to pursue in terms of assisting us with providing accurate data. We understood this was a growing need. Networks were expanding along with demand for fiber, and our customers were seeking reliable data. They wanted more automation. In many cases, they were asking for APIs to get directly into our database. And we continue that today, even as Unity and Windstream have joined together. We now have got 600 plus 60,000 on net and near net buildings, and 240,000 fiber miles. So it's a lot to keep up with. But if you partner with the right folks and you get the right departments involved in that, you end up meeting that goal of providing reliable data for your customers.
Well, thank you, David. Sean, what about you?
Yeah. So what was the turning point? So I joined here just shy of 2 years ago, and the turning point was when I started asking questions. So Consolidated has a massive footprint in multiple states, but it turns out we were only advertising 14,000 on-net buildings, which I knew that wasn't right. So I said, okay, let's kick off an on-net near-net, which we did, and we had great teams working on it. Turns out that number, if you add on-net near-net, is 250,000. but we had no way to advertise it to the market. And so the decision was made, obviously, to partner up with Ben and his outfit and start to advertise it. So just opening up visibility to Consolidated, soon to be Fidium, footprint was a major step forward for us. And it wasn't hard. It wasn't anything that wasn't obvious. It just hadn't been done before. So that's easy. The next question was, how many data centers are on our network? And nobody knew. So we had to do another research project. And it turns out our data center footprint is 155, 160 strong on net now, with another, double that for near net. And so we've educated the market now on just what it is we're capable of and where. Other areas that we touched on were SLA management. So we have a lot of very large customers with unique SLAs. How confident are we in our Ocular system? Can we receive the data correctly? Can we interpret that data relative to SLA credit requests? It's a little less interesting, perhaps, than just raw revenue creation. But the job that I have is you're looking what's coming in the front and then what's going out the back. And so we had work to do across the spectrum. I think we're going to come back to some of these themes later, so I'll just pause there. But just some early things was just poking around, asking questions, and we just uncovered some areas that had lacked attention, and we gave them the attention they needed.
Kelly?
Actually, I do have an example. When we all know that Sonnet has been winding down for some time. So we had a rural co-location site, an ILEC central office. So from an expense standpoint, we had a co-location there, which is not terribly expensive, and a DS3. And then on that DS3, we had some DS1s, a handful of customers. So looking at the systems, everything, looked fine, normal. But capturing the type 2 expense, we came to realize that our expense was 10x what our revenue was out of this location. So, that was sort of a real wake up call for the organization to say, we need to do a deep dive that really ties, not just what we are serving there with the customers, but what our infrastructure cost is to serve those sites, because we need to find better solutions.
All right. Thank you. Ben, did you have any turning point you want to share on top of that?
I'll add one, early on, around tenancy and just helping people understand context. Like, we were focused on location and, serving the network providers in particular when I started very intently. But wanted to provide the context around, is this multi-tenant, is this, single tenant, is it, a financial or healthcare or hospital or things like that. And made a decision to not, solve everything myself. And we contracted and brought in Dun & Bradstreet, not to pick on them, but they deserve picking on for this aspect. Love other aspects on, financials and things, but the location specific data, just being a nerd that I am, we were digging in and realized is, 57% accurate in most cases in the studies we were doing, and that wasn't good enough, for what our customers needed and what we wanted. So, we started peeling the onion back and building a different way. But that recognition that even multi-billion-dollar companies, whether it's our own process or their process or somebody else's process, you really got to understand what you're trying to accomplish. And if you're relying on bad data to make decisions, you're gonna make misses. And so I've been very passionate about trying to dig into that from all the dimensions since then. But it was an early lesson learned. Don't just rely on a subscription from really big guys. Inspect it and dig into what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. All right. By the way, everybody, just a reminder, you've got 16 days to beat the early price deadline for the Encompass show. So between now and September 5th, if you have not yet registered for the show, please, get out and take care of that. Just as a note, we continue to work on this technical track at the Encompass show. So Tuesday morning of the show, we will have panels that morning, including we will continue to dig deeper into this topic, even live at the panel. And for those of you with burning questions, there's a Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom window. Just go ahead and get on there and put your question, and we'll try to bring in as many of those questions as we can now, or we'll figure out a way to get answers to your questions following the webinar. So we look forward to your questions as well as the ones that we've prepared for the panel. Continuing on, some of the most damaging data problems are the ones that hide in plain sight. But Sean, I guess in your view, what types of bad data are hardest to detect but causes the most pain when they are missed?
Yeah, there's a lot of variations here. Just a couple areas that really kind of bite you on the revenue side. One we're all familiar with is something's been disconnected, but the bill was never turned off. That's painful. Messes up your financials. Customer relationships can suffer if that's an endemic problem. The flip side of that is you've installed something and it didn't go into billing, or it didn't go into billing correctly. So we pay a lot of attention to both of those to make sure we have cleanliness on the front all the way through the end of the relationship on any particular circuit. The bane of every telco's existence, cross connects. What's in use, what's not in use. How do I know that there's light on this? Should I get rid of it? Have I ever audited it? There's some stories about John Sidgmore, for those who remember WorldCom, and he said the most difficult thing in all of telecom is managing cross connects. So it's worth paying attention to. Next, I would say making sure, and we've touched on it here, is your on-net, near-net list has some robustness to it and some thought behind it. But beyond that, it's that you understand the service capabilities in every location. If you're telling yourself you can offer a suite of services, but you really can't, that's going to delay install and make for a poor customer experience. And then backbone capacity, right? So you want all those things to be harmonized from an on-net location to the handoff location. Can I provide the service? Do I have the backbone to move it around? And can I elegantly hand it off at the endpoint with a cross connect that I may or may not order, but if I do, I know that I have it, and I know I can get rid of it sometime later. And then just on the hyperscale side, so we do a lot of work with hyperscalers. It's very important that we understand as-builts, we understand fiber counts, we understand all the inventory and the status of the conduit systems, especially in the metros. If you're doing a deal with a hyperscaler and you make a mistake in raw infrastructure, you're not going to get very far ever with those companies. So you have to have super robust, not just as-builts, but you've done a field review specifically of conduit systems and fiber counts. Very important for that side of our business.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Now, guys, I suspect us guys have probably lived with these issues, been exposed to these issues, but I'm not sure that us guys have spent as much time trying to solve these issues as Madam Kelly has. So Kelly, we're all waiting with bated breath here for your answer on this one.
Well, I could take up the rest of the day talking on this one, but to follow up on a couple things that Sean mentioned, because I 100% agree. I mean, when I think about cross connects, if you're old enough to remember the Pink Panther cartoon where he's living his life and he's being pestered by a mosquito that just keeps zooming around and he can't figure out how to kill it. That's how I think about cross connects in telecom, because when the problem comes up, it's urgent. We've got to fix it. We've got a busy CFA, or we need more capacity because it wasn't being tracked. And then we fix the problem, and then everybody kind of looks the other way for a while. So I think, getting our arms around cross connects is huge. And back in the day when cross connects were $150, it's like, okay, but those days are gone. Those cross connects are not that price anymore. So they really do have a significant impact on the success of the organization, I think. And then talking about, disconnecting, if from my perspective, since I'm on the buy side, not the sales side, my greatest horror is anytime I identify a customer circuit that disconnected and we stopped billing it to the customer appropriately, but we neglected because the data didn't match or we didn't have good records, we neglected to disconnect the type 2. So we continued to pay the vendor for services that were no longer needed and no longer being used, which you'd think I'd be used to it by now, but it's one of those things that you never get used to when you run across something like that. It's just horrible. And then the only other thing that really that I thought of, that I would like to say is managing, again, from the buyer side, infrastructure expense, right? So like I said earlier about the central office with the expense for that DS3 that we had, companies really need to have a constant view to what is our spend. You know, when you initially say this makes sense to spend this because of this project, things change. It doesn't always stay that way, and it needs to sort of constantly be reassessed. I had heard an EVP at an organization say one time that anybody can sign orders, right, in regards to ordering from type 2 from a carrier relation standpoint. And he was 100% right. Anybody can sign orders, but he was also 100% wrong, because they shouldn't let anybody sign the orders. There should be command and control over what we are spending and assess that on a constant recurring basis.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Ben, David, anything you'd like to add to what Sean and Kelly shared?
For me, I think Sean and Kelly hit it out of the park. Is spot on.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. Once you start fixing these problems, the gains can be big. I guess, David, where have you seen the biggest financial or operational improvements from eliminating bad data or automated manual processes?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you want to try to do with your customers is build trust. And when you're sending out building lists or you're sending out quotes, you want to be able to stand behind that and not have surprises later on down the road. We've always been focused on expanding our network and broadcasting that expansion to our customer base. We use the term lease up as we expand our network so that we can lease up that space and bring in more revenue, new incremental revenue. And we've used companies like Connectbase to share that data and make sure that customers have accurate data. And as we complete that network expansion, we arm our salespeople with KMZs, building lists, and quarterly updates that we give to our customers in terms of our network expansion, where buildings that were near net are now on net. And we also have increased API connections. I know Connectbase, Ben's company, has really been pushing API connections to make things more automated. And that's really where this business is going. And operationally, we've gotten to the point now with several of our large customers where we don't even go through the proposal phase with them. As long as we give them a term sheet, a building list, and pricing, we get all orders sent to us. We take 24 hours to just verify information and so forth, and then we book that business. So we're getting the revenue in the door a lot quicker, which our financial people are always happy to see. So it's always good to have that automation in place, and it's something that's going to continue to accelerate over the next couple of years.
All right, thanks, David. All right, Ben, David teed you up a little bit there, or why don't you continue on?
Yeah, I think just some key things to think about that we've seen financial gains around for the industry in particular. Cleaning up bad data around the proximity of your network. It's one thing to have a pristine on-net building list, but there's a pretty massive return on investment when you do near net right. And this industry hasn't always done near net right in the 28 years I've been participating in it. So focusing on cleaning them, structuring, having clarity around your actual build expectations and what the right price is to stand up to the orders can have a material return to the company that does it. Like the second aspect is something David just touched on, is really getting integrated with your supply chain and your buying community, building that digital ecosystem with APIs, it is really where the world's moving. And then that gives you insights into how the activity is progressing, that you can focus energy on the relationship management, exceptions, and special projects, rather than getting emails with spreadsheets and conforming addresses and tools to clean them up. That all gets transactionally done across APIs and has a pretty massive return opportunity, even doing business with the same companies only, not just expanding it. You see an uplift in participation from buying community and partner community. And the last one I'll leave people with is how to speak ecosystem around location and product has a positive impact on financial returns. When you focus on doing it your own way, you got to recognize that other people on the other side of the transaction may have a different way. And so thinking about, making sure the location is conformed to ecosystem standards, your product speaks not just your brand position, but identifies clearly it's a broadband product, it's an Ethernet product, it's a DIA product, and doesn't confuse buyers or partners in the process of querying it, helps elevate the hit rates you're going to get on your network.
All right. Well, Sean and Kelly, with your experience, I suspect you may also have a favorite financial operational gain. Anything you guys want to share?
Kelly, go ahead, and then I'll bring us home if you like.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I think doing near net right should be a tagline that somebody uses in the industry, because that is brilliant. And it speaks so much to it's so compelling as a concept that because anybody can do their own net, right? Or they should be able to, right? But doing near net right, that's huge. So that was my main takeaway from that.
All right. Sean?
Yeah, I could go on for a bit, but I'll be brief. So we've traveled this path quite far in partnership with Ben and some other companies. So we feel good about on-net, near-net, and doing near-net right, which is always an ongoing thing. So well said to all. But what I'd say that is our launch pad to go forward. So what does that look like, right? And this is what we talk to our customers about, which is, okay, now that we're in this data API universe and systems universe, we can run down the path of no-touch ordering for broadband, low-level bandwidth, low-level Ethernet, low-level DIA. So we will enter a world in either 26 or early 27 where anything under a gig, you don't even have to call us. If you don't want to, don't call a rep, just place an ASR and go for it. And it all happens serviceability on the front end, API'd through a partner that can execute the order. That is then API'd into our install systems and broken into its constituent install parts, which make their way to billing. So there's a whole lot of churn in the system that gets removed when you start to think like that. And then we can climb the stack, because 10 gigs is going to be the new 1 gig in a few years. But you've got the baseline set. The other benefit is the sales teams can now focus on higher ARPU, multi-site, large bandwidth, AI-driven opportunities, and not be running around writing service orders for 300 meg DIA circuits. So there's sort of a push and pull there of mutual benefit, and we're just starting that, but we're excited about it.
All right. Again, if you've got any questions you want to ask, please put them in Q&A, and I'll be happy to put that out there. Well, as we're going through these questions and we're talking about realizing gains, as the VP of Sales and Marketing at Axcent Networks, I would be remiss in not, letting everybody know that next month, Axcent will be hosting a webinar on Encompass, where we're going to talk about how our new custom software as a service solution, powered by our tool Xsolve, helps solve many of these issues through our COGS command center, our contracts command center, our contract reader, and other tools that are customized to your operations. I mean, it's a custom software as a service, and we look forward to sharing that with you next month. of course, actually reach out to me anytime. Be happy to talk with you about it. But back to this webinar before we end up going far. So, Ben, when did you realize that fixing your data wasn't just a system problem, but a governance and culture problem?
I don't remember the exact moment, but I think this is, is certainly one of the most important things for all of us to be thinking about and recognizing that it isn't just a systems problem. It isn't just, do I have the right data? That governance and culture are, the keys to really scaling a highly purposeful, high quality data outcome. And a couple of things, come to mind in the just in the curation of, location data, product catalog pricing data. If you don't have the QA governance in process on pricing, in a world where pricing changes and it affects, outcomes, it leads to bad results. It leads to missed opportunities, lower growth. And so having the right reporting, analytics, and accountability and ownership of who's doing what to manage that, I've seen as a critical ingredient to those doing well and those not. And can't stress it enough that it is a holistic part of getting to the outcomes that I think most people have, the general desire to get to. But ultimately, if you're just looking at it from a systems perspective and don't incorporate the people and the processes needed to get to the outcomes, you're not going to get to 100% success that you want to.
All right. How about you, Sean?
I couldn't say it any better than that. I would say that once you head down that path, one of the resulting benefits is you can very closely map your front end outcomes to your back end revenue. So the process needs to flow, as I mentioned before, all the way through to the back. And if you get the governance and system and process sorted out, then you can rely on what's coming out the other side. And a lot of companies can't, and they have to go back and research and ask questions about this, that, and the other thing. And so, again, it's a journey, in my opinion. I think Ben hit it exactly right on the parts that need to come along for the ride and be harmonized for that journey. But you get better outcomes across the spectrum from front end to back end if you do it. And you can't be successful if you don't consider governance and process and culture. It's just not possible.
So, David and Kelly, this topic here, neither one of you have ever had a conversation about this with our other friend in Tulsa named Tom, have you?
Once or twice.
or 50 times.
Anything you want to share? Anything you want to share there, or anything you can share here?
No, I mean, I think a lot of this is about, what Ben has said as well is really focusing and making sure that when you're broadcasting data out to your customers, that it's as accurate as you can. To try to get to 100% is difficult. I get it. But the closer you get to that, the better customer experience that you provide. And I'm going to touch on this, I know, on the next question, but we have multiple departments that are involved in our on-net, near-net building list. And it's not just sales and marketing, it's GIS, it's costing, it's permitting, and so forth. And we've really built that into the organization to make sure that it is part of our culture, and it's something that we want to make sure we're putting something out that's accurate. And speaking of accuracy, by the way, I don't want my marketing department to shoot me. Earlier, I said 60,000 total buildings between Unity and Windstream. I meant to say 600,000 buildings between Unity and Windstream. So I'm saying that just to save myself, but apologize for that error.
It's a big reach.
Nice. Kelly, anything you want to add on that last question?
Yeah. Only that if you look around your organization and you see a culture that's not open to a new way of thinking or a new approach or a different process or something like that, that is a huge red flag, right? Just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean that there's not room to improve and advance and and make the organization better, you know.
All right. Well, so many in the audience may feel overwhelmed, whether it's contract data, spreadsheets, billing mismatches, invoice databases, or endless manual work or whatever. Kelly, what advice would you give to help them make real progress fast?
I mean, as mundane as it sounds, a comprehensive audit that goes from the contract to the invoice to what we see in the system to what goes out to the customer is the quickest way to identify the mismatches. But at the end of the day, if it's all in spreadsheets, VLOOKUPs are only so good, right? so so you really need to address a deep analysis of the systems that you're currently using, where the gaps in the communication lie. You know, if billing can't talk to the database where the customer services are, so we're not capturing all the type 2 information, or it's not capturing the actual routing. If I can't pull a CLR that shows me how that path goes to the customer, those are all problems. And as much as saying cross-functional team meeting gives people some PTSD who've been in the industry for a while, they are still really valuable, especially when you're trying to address, do the systems we have in place do what we need them to do for all the organizations, not just focused on sales, not just focused on billing, but across the board, operationally, the whole group. So I think putting those types of meetings together and having those discussions will be key to somebody who wants to get out of the spreadsheets.
You know, Kenny's going to be very disappointed that you just didn't say hire Axcent's custom software as a service solution to help you, you know.
that also helps. That I've been very pleased with Xsolve. I will say, absolutely.
All right. How about you, David?
Yeah, so I just kind of touched on this a little while ago, and with 600,000 buildings in your network, it's really important that accuracy is not just looked at by sales and sales engineering. Again, I've talked a little bit about our process. So, IT is very involved in that because we have to establish APIs with customers, do updates. We have to get GIS involved to make sure that the mapping is properly sent to customers to do an analysis, in this case, Connectbase. And then also our costing and permitting. You know, what does it cost to build in downtown New Orleans versus the suburbs? One of the problems that you get into is you create models for on-net, near-net, and the minute you try to put a near-net model to a location that's within 1,000 feet of a building in downtown New Orleans, the cost is so high that you can't meet your pricing that you gave to your customers. So one of the things that we've learned by doing that is identify buildings where that cost doesn't meet the model and categorize it as ICB. That way the customer knows we can still call you, we can still get a quote, but we're not going to be able to get that near net price that you normally do for near net buildings. So it's stuff like that I think that really helps build trust with customers. And I know Ben likes to use this. We like to keep out of the penalty box with our customers because you get an order from a customer or 2 or 3 orders from a customer, and you have to go back and say, sorry, but we need a little bit more NRC. We kind of underestimated the build cost. Next thing you know, the order valve shuts off and you're in the penalty box until you get that fixed. So we've really worked hard on that. We've developed a scope of work that's a living document, goes back and forth between both Connectbase and ourselves to make sure that data is as accurate as possible.
You know, Sean and Ben, you're welcome to chime in here. But as I listen to you guys talk, I guess some of the thoughts that come to my mind is there's nothing really sexy about this topic, is there? and there's nothing really easy about this topic. It's hard work. It requires consistency.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt. But I, but anyway, by the way, we're open for more questions if you guys got them. But Ben, Sean, what else would you like to add on as far as giving advice to companies buried in spreadsheets and billing mismatches and where they should start to make real progress fast? Anything you guys want to add?
You want to go first? I'll wrap
Go
up.
for it. Go for it, man. I'll follow up.
I'll just pick one thing, from an advice standpoint is don't get wrapped around just the data structure itself, like an address or the quote dollar amount. Embrace IDs and embed IDs across wherever you need them. So a location ID versus 123 Main Street, a quote ID versus a gig for X dollars. Those things need to be accessible and part of the API integration and the QA and the data reconciliation process, because it's far simpler and more effective to match on IDs than it is to try to match on the string data or other components. So embrace IDs, really inspect your use of them, and if you're not putting attribution on your products around a specific ID, if you're not embracing the global location ID concept, my challenge to you is to go do so.
Sean?
Yeah, just picking up real fast on where to start if everywhere you look is a disaster. All things customer facing and revenue generating. Just pick something, because once you start with pick Ethernet, pick DIA, it doesn't matter what it is. Improve the quoting experience, the install experience, and the billing experience. Just pick that one line through your systems, and as soon as you fix that, then everything opens up quickly. So it's not like it's overwhelming and there's no way to cut through it. There are ways to cut straight through it on a simplistic basis and then expand from there. That's where I would go if I had to start from scratch.
And then you've made progress in an area, and you've learned something along the way that you can apply to the next area.
Because
right?
when at the product level, all you're doing is quoting, selling, installing, and billing. Once you fix one product, you just climb through the product catalog and do it for the highest value products, and then the lowest value, and then move on to knock or whatever else you need to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. As we continue on, again, a reminder, the early price for Encompass in September 5th. Just as a reminder, we look forward and join us on Tuesday morning for the technical track as far as our panels then. But back to our topic. Even when you have the right tools, CRM, CPQ, OSS, BSS, they don't always work together. I mean, Sean, how do you ensure these systems truly integrate instead of just coexisting?
Man, if I could answer that, I'd be the highest paid CIO in the world. Look, it's too much complication. Stuff's going to go sideways. What you need is an agile team of people that understand these systems, and more importantly, the way they should work together, that can jump on these things and do development sprints to fix issues. Like, it may sound weird, but I have a story for you. So my daughter went to college 2 days ago. I paid for her renter's insurance, and she gets bombarded with emails that her renter's insurance policy has lapsed. This is a business that's so native online, there's no phone number to call them. Like, everything's online, sign up, put your credit card in, do this thing, do the boom. The payment showed up, and she's still getting bombarded with emails saying, you owe us money, we're going to cancel your policy. I mean, it just is going to happen. So rapid response when you know there's an issue. Open communication, which I will pound on that because I've been involved in a lot of these projects, which is the front end of the business can have a difficulty articulating in the language of the back end of the business, right? Front end talking to IT, it's very rarely clearly understood what you need on both sides to make a positive contribution. So look over the whole universe, pay attention to problems, communicate effectively, and double check that everyone understands, and then encourage IT to get into a sprint formation where when they understand it, resolution comes very quickly.
Ben?
I think that's well said. I'd add, a couple of perspectives to think about. Number one, the enemy of progress is perfection. So, don't try to boil the ocean of everything all at once. Pick a path and go down that path and make progress towards the integrated state that utopia everyone wants to get to. When you're going down that path, really think through, what is the system of truth? Where does that stand? And then how everything else interacts from there. Really starts to be a logical thought process. So if the CRM is for a particular thing, or a CPQ, or a inventory, or billing, or whatever it is, just know what that truth state is, so you can then back into how the other systems interact with it. And then I think lastly is, embrace the API. APIs are ultimately, not overwhelming. They are our friends, they are normal, they are expected, and they are the tools of driving integration. And so, have those agile teams embrace integration, but really from that system of truth perspective, and drive deep.
All right, thanks, Ben. David Kelly, anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, I do. We about 3 years ago, we promoted one of our internal VPs, Michael Lavoie, to a business development position in local access, and one of his specialties is he's a road warrior. He goes out and visits. We developed a program for our top 16 customers that were local access billers. And one of the things that he does to ensure accuracy is he goes out to those customers and goes to the people that are quoting, or the people that are vendor management, and says, here's 10 locations in our network. Put this in your system and tell me what kind, if it shows up, number one, as near net or on net, and that you're getting a price. And I think it just ensures accuracy. It also, gets us in front of the customer so that we can understand, how their back office systems work, and make sure that the information that we're sending to them is properly being inputted into their systems. So it's a good way, and it's another means of checks and balances to make sure that we're part of the preferred vendor with that customer.
All right, and we had a little follow up there, David, in that Mike L is the man. I'm being told that, in the Q&A section, not a question, but Mike L is the man.
Right.
So Ben, you have your choice of whether you want to add something. Well, actually, or I guess, first of all, Kelly, did you have anything you want to add there before I go back to Ben?
The only other thing would be to be sure that you're involving the actual end users from all the groups, to fully understand, designing the integration without talking to the people that are the ones that are populating those fields or have to work with that data is short-sighted. So that's a critical piece that sometimes gets overlooked.
All right. So Ben, we've got a question from the field about how clean is the average, of course, I guess you can define average. How clean is the average company's on-net / near-net list in Connectbase?
In today's world, it's getting very clean. On-net, I think the industry's done a very good job of being precise and clear. It's not necessarily messy anymore. It's more about attribution. How do you go deeper in communicating things like demarcation, intervals, expectations? And then near net, it really, depends on how each supplier does it. It, dictates the definition of cleanliness. In broad strokes, whether we do it or the supplier does it, there's, two fundamental ways to do it. There's as the airplane flies, and pull in everything inside of that boundary. from a location perspective, which is less precise, but a process, and there's still a significant amount of people doing that. The preferred way, if I pick a path for somebody and they listen to my recommendation, is a right away near net with impediment flags, where you're going down a build path versus a straight line, and you're looking for things like railroad tracks or historical districts or other things that are known drivers of higher costs and longer time frames. So that drives the cleanliness behavior of good versus great in the industry. More and more people are gravitating towards the precision, but I think in general the state of the building list itself on net near net is, after 10 years of doing this, is in a far better place industry wide. And then the next evolution is really speaking ecosystem deeper across the APIs, and attribution as the two areas of focus for the next 3 years.
All right. Thank you, Ben. The before I jump into the next question, I got a note from Gail. She has updated me. I forgot that the Axcent webinar is not next month. It's actually October 1st at 2:00. As far as it'll be an Encompass sponsored webinar for Axcent, where we like to say we're a bunch of telecom engineers who became data integrity experts to walk you through the custom software as a service solution and address questions in using a tool like Xsolve and its COGS command center, contract command center, and contract reader to help you keep track of all these things and clean all these things up. But let's continue. Let's look ahead, Kelly. What does success look like in a clean data wholesale operation, and how do you measure progress along the way?
For me, success would be I can go into the system, pull up a customer record, and see within just a few clicks the full picture of what we're delivering. I can generate a CLR. I can see how the path is being delivered to the customer, what the revenue and the expense items related to that service are, what infrastructure it's utilizing, and capacity related to that infrastructure. So it's being able to easily access all of that information. And I think a lot of the way to measure that progress is through reports and dashboards that can tell you that the information in the accounting system is matching with the information in the provisioning system, just all across the board, that you can see that. And of course, having really good processes as well that you can speak to say, I understand how, as an organization, we deliver the service to the customers, and we're consistent in the way that we do that, and it's meeting the customer's needs.
All right, David.
I mean, in sales, been in sales all my life. Obviously, incremental revenue, new business is always key to customer success and making sure you're doing the right things. But also, those customer visits that I mentioned before, and making sure that customers understand, our product line, know where they can get the proper data, sending them KMZs so that they know where our network is, where it's growing, and just providing accurate data. At the end of the day, I always say that clean data equals happy customers and repeat business. And in a wholesale marketplace, that's success in my mind.
Sean, Ben, anything you guys like to add?
You're up first, Sean.
Nope. Go ahead, bud.
I'll just add a little bit to David's perspective, because I agree, like growth, drives a measurement of success. I just challenge everyone to think about leading indicators that are going to drive towards that. With good, clean data, you should be able to start understanding your participation of those buildings, whether it's 6,000, 60,000, 600,000. How's your wholesale operation, really complementing your go-to-market drivers overall, and you're getting full participation, whether it's towers, hyperscaler data centers, retail stores, you name it. If you're not participating, why? Do you need to find new partners to add certain perspectives in the mix? And then what your conversion rates on that participation are and how you're moving that forward to drive growth. Getting into those perspectives, you can start really thinking about the programs that you institute to drive the next steps. And this industry, it's not a secret, needs growth levers, like to find ways to participate deeper, to improve win rates. Falls to the bottom line, makes a huge impact on the service providers in this ecosystem.
All right. We're getting to the top of the hour. If anybody has any other question, please put it into the Q&A. But David, how do you get executive buy-in for what feels like a data project, but actually impacts revenue and partner experience?
David, I was actually glad I got this question, because this is so important to our organization that our CEO, Kenny Gunderman, is on a once-a-month call with us to go over local access and how we're doing in terms of growth with our customers, and making sure we've got the right promotions in place. And we meet with him and several senior VPs and presidents of the organization to talk about that. And it's just not the wholesale organization. This also spreads into our enterprise group as well. And we review sales results each month, make sure that we're putting the right promotions in place. And at the end of the day, we realize that automation in telecom, whether it's for pricing or placing orders, is continuing to evolve, and reliable data helps build trust and grow revenue. And at the end of the day, that's really what we want to do. And we have support all the way up in our organization in regards to this. And it's great to have that.
And David, sometimes life isn't fair, because Kenny was here for your comments about the 6,000, 60,000, 600,000, but he's gone now, and he's not here to listen to that part.
He'll probably call me on my cell phone later.
Anyway, how about you, Kelly?
Well, first of all, David, I would say you tell him you did that on purpose so you can bring it up 4 different times, right?
That's right.
Instead of just mentioning it once, right?
That's
So
right.
Now
that's
everybody knows
brilliant.
it's 600,000.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to forget it now.
Nobody's going to forget it.
Great
They've heard it 4
strategy,
times.
David.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Really well played.
Right.
So from my perspective in vendor relations, obviously, getting buy-in is a pretty easy argument, because if I can drive $1 of cost out of the organization, that goes completely to the EBITDA, right? It's a $1 of savings. If David sells $1 on the network, that's not $1 of revenue, because it's costing us. Now, I know sales is sexier than savings. That's most people think. I would argue the other way. but if I can prove, that having a group focused on expense and optimization, manning the shop, if you will, from a cost standpoint, to make sure that we are making the right decisions, or if we've in the past made a slightly wrong decision, we can correct that and improve that savings, then it's a pretty easy argument, because of the EBITDA impact.
Okay.
That good data results from.
We're approaching the top of the hour. One thing I just want to say, we are in the process of building our 3rd Tech Track panel, AI versus the threats, securing telecom infrastructure at scale. The panel is going to tackle how AI is being deployed to fortify defenses at scale. If you know somebody that would be a great panelist for that, have them get in touch with me or Gail or Julia. We're in the process of building that panel now. Again, we'll have 3 Tech Track panels on Tuesday the 4th. One of them is the AI panel that we just talked about. The another one is today's panel, and the one we did last month on building future networks, meeting demands of hyperscalers and cloud growth. We're excited about what we're talking about again. So you can plan on spending Tuesday morning or inviting your technical folks to be there to engage with us and interact with us as we want to get participation going. I want to thank Ben, David, Kelly, and Sean. Great job, guys. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we look forward to continuing the conversation and expanding the conversation in Tampa on November 4th.